In the cold, dark corners of space, where ancient stars burn quietly and massive warships drift between dying systems, the galactic empire stretched its reach farther than ever before. It had swallowed hundreds of planets, enslaved countless species, and broken civilizations that once believed they could resist. No one stood against them anymore. Their power was like a storm that never stopped, and their hunger for control pushed them deeper into the unexplored edge of the galaxy. It was during one of these expansion campaigns that a small, forgotten signal was picked up by one of the Empire's deep space listening stations. The signal was strange simple at first, just numbers and patterns, but then it became music, voices, and even laughter. The transmission came from a blue and green planet, hidden inside a modest solar system. The planet was called Earth, and though it showed no signs of advanced interstellar travel, the signal carried knowledge, language, and culture. It seemed alive with human stories, history, and emotion. At first, the scientists in charge of the discovery believed it was just another undeveloped world. They sent the data up the chain of command, and when it reached the Imperial Council, it was quickly labeled as an easy target for resource collection and conquest. No one considered Earth a threat. Emperor Kale himself watched the signal from Earth in the Grand Hall of Mirrors, surrounded by admirals and scholars. He laughed as a video played showing humans dancing in the rain and cheering at sports events. "They are soft," he said. "They celebrate weakness." His advisors agreed. There was no sign of space fleets or defense systems, no powerful orbiting stations, and no warning beacons like those that protected more dangerous planets. Earth seemed completely unaware of the galaxy around it. And so, without hesitation, the Emperor ordered a scouting fleet to be sent just a few ships to test Earth's reaction. The mission was handed to Admiral Varnock, a respected and proud commander known for his brutal efficiency. He had destroyed colonies in the Zolorian Rebellion and crushed a pirate nation in the Fire Mist region. To him, Earth was just another forgettable assignment. He didn't even bother preparing full war protocols. He believed it would be over in a matter of days. As the fleet neared Earth's solar system, the ships moved with quiet confidence. Their engines glowed red against the blackness of space, and their weapons were armed but idle. They passed by gas giants and asteroid belts, scanning everything with precision. Earth looked peaceful and beautiful from afar, a quiet blue marble floating in a soft light. It didn't even try to hide. But just before the fleet could cross into orbit range, a strange message appeared on every screen, spoken in a calm but firm voice. "Turn back. Do not approach Earth. This is your final warning." The voice was not human. It had a layered tone, like two voices speaking at once, one ancient and one artificial. The message repeated once, then stopped. No signal followed, no attack, no more words. The bridge of the lead ship fell silent. Admiral Varnock narrowed his eyes and stared at the screen. He demanded to know where the message came from, but his officers were confused. It hadn't come from Earth. It came from a source floating somewhere far outside the planet's orbit, cloaked and invisible. Some believed it was a hidden satellite. Others said it could be a long-abandoned probe from a lost alien race. But no one could trace it exactly. The admiral, annoyed, dismissed the warning. He believed it was a trick, perhaps from a rival empire or a desperate survivor of a world already destroyed. He didn't believe for a moment that Earth could be a threat. "Prepare descent," he ordered. "Let's greet our new subjects." But in the data archives of the Empire, something began to stir. Old files ones never fully decoded started to activate. Buried deep in forgotten systems were ancient records from early explorations that mentioned a planet full of strange life, one that absorbed technology without fully understanding it, one that adapted faster than any other species, and one that learned through suffering instead of peace. The name of that planet was lost to time, but the descriptions matched Earth. And more importantly, those early records included a single line marked in red: "If found again, avoid at all costs." Earth is not what it seems. These files had been lost in the mess of expanding databases and thousands of years of conquests. But now, too late, they started to resurface. Meanwhile, Earth showed no sign of panic. No ships launched to fight. No shields were raised. Humans continued their normal lives working, laughing, walking their streets, completely unaware of the danger floating above them. But deep under Earth's surface, in hidden bunkers and research labs, humans had noticed the approach. They didn't respond, not yet. Instead, they waited, letting the Empire believe it was in control. And far above, the warning given by the unknown alien voice echoed silently into space. The Empire had been warned. Earth was a trap, but now they were already too close. Admiral Varnock stood tall on the command deck of the Imperial dreadnought Falrex, his arms behind his back, eyes fixed on the image of Earth rotating slowly on the main screen. The planet looked calm, almost innocent, a shining blue dot wrapped in soft clouds and oceans that sparkled in the sunlight. Around him, officers moved quickly, whispering updates and scanning for any sign of resistance, but nothing appeared. There were no defense ships, no shield signals, no planetary weapons pointing upward. The only disturbance had been that strange warning from an unknown alien source, but even that had vanished without trace. The Admiral smirked. To him, it was obvious this was a bluff, a desperate attempt by some forgotten race, trying to protect a weak, backward world. The Empire had faced such tricks before, and they always ended the same way with fire, silence, and surrender. Varnock had no time for fear. He had crushed systems with far more defenses than Earth. He ordered his fleet to begin positioning over key regions, military bases, communication centers, energy zones, but kept all weapons cold. He wanted to prove Earth could be taken without firing a single shot. He believed such a victory would become a symbol of how powerless the rest of the galaxy had become, and how the Empire could walk into any world it desired. Meanwhile, in a dark corner of the Imperial archives, a young data analyst named Excel found himself staring at a series of old files that had suddenly come online. They were flagged as ancient intelligence logs thousands of years old, written during the time when the Empire was still expanding into the outer reaches of the spiral arms. The records told of a strange species, human in form, that had once been encountered on a dying world surrounded by wrecked starships and strange symbols carved in metal. The Empire had sent a scout team, but none had returned. Only their last message was found. They learn everything. They copy. They change. We are not the hunters here. Cell was confused. The coordinates matched Earth's system. He tried to report it, but his message was marked as low priority. No one wanted warnings. They wanted victories. Back in orbit, Varnock's ship slowly moved into a wide ring formation, completely surrounding the planet from space. Still, Earth made no move. The Admiral's officers were growing uneasy. They had invaded dozens of worlds, but this one felt different. Too quiet. Too open. No resistance, no panic, not even a curious signal. As if Earth wasn't surprised at all. But they kept their doubts to themselves. Speaking fear was not tolerated in the Empire. Orders were followed, and Varnock's orders were clear. Prepare the first wave of landers, target communication hubs, seize government buildings, and then install the Empire's rule before sunrise on the planet. He wanted to crush Earth before breakfast. Just then, a second strange signal appeared. This time, not a warning, but a song, an old human song filled with soft piano and the sound of rain. It played for only 30 seconds, and then silence returned. The Admiral, angry, ordered it blocked. "They are mocking us," he said. "They know we're here and they send music instead of missiles." This is a joke. He didn't realize that the signal had activated something below the planet's surface. Deep within old mountains and frozen poles, machines began to hum machines that no one in the Empire had ever seen before. Earth's true defenses were not in the sky. They were buried, hidden, sleeping under layers of rock, waiting for a signal not from above, but from within. On the ground, humans carried on with their lives, as if nothing was happening. But those in secret installations, underground bunkers, and isolated research bases were already watching the skies with calm eyes. They had been trained for this moment. Humanity had learned long ago that survival wasn't about strength. It was about patience. On board the fleet, some technicians began reporting glitches. Maps were flickering. Navigation systems showed false readings. One ship briefly disappeared from sensors and reappeared miles away. Weapon systems had short delays. Power cores ran hotter than expected. Varnock was told these were minor technical errors, nothing serious. But the truth was far stranger. Earth was beginning to push back, not with lasers or bombs, but with signals. Gravity shifts, magnetic pulses, things no Empire ship had been designed to resist. The planet was not defenseless. It had simply learned to defend in ways no one expected. Still, Varnock gave the final command. Landers launched from the ships, piercing Earth's atmosphere like glowing daggers. But just as they neared the clouds, something unseen caught them. One by one, the landers slowed, their engines shutting off as if pulled by invisible hands. They floated downward harmlessly, then vanished from the fleet's tracking systems entirely. No crash, no explosion. Just silence. Then came the third message, not a warning, not a song. It was a single sentence, spoken in human language, but laced with an alien echo. You were told not to come. Panic began to spread among the officers. They checked and rechecked their systems, but every answer was the same. Earth was not responding with war. Earth was responding like a trap, already triggered, already closing. Across the fleet, lights dimmed. Engines froze. Communications went silent. The Empire's great machines had always worked perfectly across galaxies, but now they were helpless in the sky of a simple-looking world. Varnock tried to send a retreat command, but the message never left the ship. Something was jamming even thought itself. As his officers scrambled to fix the systems, he stared at Earth with a feeling he had never known before: doubt. It was already too late. Silence fell across the Imperial fleet like a thick blanket of dread, and within that silence, confusion grew louder than any alarm. One by one, the massive starships that once stood proudly above Earth began to lose control of their systems, not with explosions or open attacks, but with something deeper, something invisible. Admiral Varnock watched in growing horror as his most advanced warships drifted like broken toys, engines stalled, lights flickering, weapons disabled, and communication blacked out. The trap had not been a place, it was Earth itself. The strange blue planet had become something more than just a world. It was behaving like a living, intelligent being that had silently studied, adapted, and finally struck. From the darkness of deep space, the Empire's great machines had always believed they were unmatched, their technology beyond reach. But now, surrounded by stillness and shadow, they had no answers. Some officers tried to reboot the systems manually, but as they touched the controls, the screens changed by themselves. Strange symbols appeared, human language mixed with unfamiliar patterns, as if someone else had taken over everything. Without warning, the viewing screens of every ship lit up at the same time, showing not the planet below, but hundreds of human faces staring back, some young, some old, some wearing uniforms, others dressed like civilians, but all of them calm. One face, a woman with short black hair and sharp eyes, spoke in perfect galactic standard. You were warned. You refused to listen. You believed Earth was weak because it was quiet. But it was quiet because it was watching. The image vanished, leaving behind a chilling emptiness. Varnock clenched his fists, trying to order his troops, but even his voice could not break through the thick wave of fear spreading through the fleet. Then it began. Not an attack with lasers or missiles, but something worse, something unknown. The ships closest to Earth started to twist in space, their shapes bending slightly, as if the laws of physics were being rewritten. Hulls groaned. Metal warped. Shields collapsed without a single shot fired. One battleship spun slowly, lights blinking in a strange rhythm, and then simply stopped existing as if it had been erased from reality. Panic erupted on the remaining vessels. Officers screamed, others ran, and some just stood frozen, unable to understand what they were seeing. Varnock tried to maintain control, ordering all ships to retreat, but no engines responded. Gravity fields reversed, oxygen levels dropped, artificial minds guiding the ships shut themselves down. And through it all, Earth remained calm, still turning gently, showing no signs of war, no fire from its surface, just the quiet power of something ancient and prepared. Beneath Earth's surface, deep in long-forgotten bunkers, the real power behind the trap was finally awakening. It was not only humans who had set this defense, it was something older, a result of secrets buried during the last Great War, when Earth had nearly destroyed itself. That war had changed humanity forever, forcing them to evolve in silence. They learned to defend not by building weapons that could be seen, but by creating defenses that couldn't be understood. Earth had become a mirror, capable of reflecting the enemy's strength and turning it against them. Everything the Empire had sent, ships, signals, strategies, was now being used as fuel for the trap. One Imperial scientist, trembling in fear, whispered that Earth's surface had released a strange signal, a kind of adaptive frequency that didn't destroy machines, but changed how they behaved. It wasn't hacking. It was transformation. The Empire's own machines were being rewritten in real time, repurposed to serve something else, something they couldn't comprehend. On one of the damaged destroyers, an officer noticed the walls beginning to glow faintly with blue light, the same shade as Earth's oceans. A low hum vibrated through the floor like a heartbeat. It was no longer their ship. It belonged to Earth now. Admiral Varnock finally understood the truth, not just that Earth was dangerous, but that it had always known this day would come. The trap had been set not last week, not last year, but possibly centuries ago. Humanity had waited in silence, hiding its progress, letting the galaxy believe it was fragile, backward, primitive. But behind that illusion was a species that had once nearly wiped itself out and learned from the ashes. It had learned not to reveal strength until the moment it mattered most. Varnock looked at the swirling blue sphere on his screen and realized, with a cold chill, that Earth was not a target, it was a weapon. Suddenly, a surge of power raced through the remaining ships, but it was not the kind they expected. A final message echoed across every deck, this time spoken by thousands of voices in unison, human and machine combined. You came to conquer. Now you stay to learn. With a flash of light, the ships were pulled downward, not crashing, but landing softly on vast platforms that rose from Earth's oceans like silent sentinels. The Empire's warriors found themselves surrounded not by soldiers, but by fields of light that bent reality around them, trapping them in stillness. Their weapons didn't work, their armor felt heavy, and the air itself felt strange, filled with information and emotion. They were not prisoners. They were subjects. Earth had no interest in killing them. It wanted them to see, to understand, to witness the truth they had refused to believe. It was not a war. It was a lesson. And in the far edges of space, other civilizations that had once laughed at the stories of Earth now went quiet. The trap had been triggered, not just for the Empire, but as a message to the galaxy. Earth was no longer hiding. It had revealed its true face. And that face was watching. ASA, the Imperial soldiers sat helpless inside their disabled ships or within strange holding zones on Earth's surface. A quiet fear spread through them, not because of violence, but because of the deep silence and control they couldn't break. They expected war. They prepared for resistance. But what they found was something far more terrifying, a world that didn't fight back with firepower, but instead with quiet knowledge and invisible strength. Earth had not only trapped the Empire's fleet, it had done so without destroying them, without killing, without even raising its voice. That level of power, calm and confident, made the galactic commanders realize they had underestimated the one thing they couldn't calculate: humanity's story. Deep inside one of the command centers on Earth, hidden beneath mountains for centuries, an artificial intelligence named Orion activated its deepest files. Through emotion, experience, and raw truth, they saw a species that had once lived in tribes, fighting each other for land, for food, for pride. Then they saw the rise of cities, the birth of science, the chaos of war after war, until one day, humanity almost ended itself with its own hands. Nuclear fire, climate collapse, diseases, and digital wars brought Earth to the edge of extinction more than once. And yet, from every fall, they rose again, not stronger in weapons, but stronger in will. Humanity's true secret was not its technology or hidden machines. It was their endless ability to adapt, survive, and learn from pain. Other species in the galaxy avoided destruction by maintaining peace or advancing in slow, careful steps. But humans had evolved by falling again and again, then rebuilding with better ideas, harder hearts, and deeper understanding. This constant cycle of collapse and rebirth had changed them into something unique. They didn't just survive disaster, they used it. It made them more unpredictable, more creative, and in time, more dangerous. The Empire believed strength came from control, from order, from perfection. But Earth had proven that true strength came from chaos managed, not avoided. They had taken the worst of life and turned it into armor. Their minds could bend logic, turn fear into courage, and when surrounded, they looked for ways to reshape the battlefield itself. That is what had happened here. Humanity didn't build the trap for the Empire, they became the trap. Their silence, their mystery, their refusal to connect with the larger galaxy was not fear, it was patience. They were waiting, learning, preparing, while letting the rest of the universe write them off as weak and irrelevant. Even the ancient races, those who once ruled the stars, had left Earth alone, not out of mercy, but confusion. Now, standing before the raw truth of Earth's past, the Imperial captains realized the terrible reality. They had walked into the lair of a species shaped by fire, sharpened by loss, and perfected by time. The AI continued showing them how humanity had survived not just physical threats, but mental ones too. Unlike other species that relied on telepathy or group consciousness, humans had evolved in isolation, with each mind forced to stand alone, to carry its own weight, to face pain without shared emotion. This had made them mentally stronger, more independent, and far harder to control. Psychological warfare didn't work on humans the same way it did on other species. Their memories, their emotions, their stubbornness, it all made them impossible to predict. Even when they were frightened, they didn't run. They resisted, they questioned, they adapted. The Empire had thought of them as primitive because they lived on one planet. But that was Earth's greatest weapon. It concentrated all human effort, emotion, and history into a single place, making it not just a planet, but a pressure cooker of ideas and evolution. Over thousands of years, Earth had become more than a home. It became a crucible, forging a species that could survive anything. That was the real trap. It wasn't the machines or the signals. It was the spirit of humanity, waiting in the dark with ancient knowledge and modern silence, knowing that someday someone would come, and when they did, Earth would be ready. Outside the Imperial viewports, the planet looked calm, green, blue, peaceful. But now the prisoners knew better. The mountains held cities buried deep underground, powered by ancient fusion cores still running after hundreds of years. The oceans held networks that could bend gravity. The sky was filled with hidden satellites, not armed with weapons, but with learning systems that could read, adapt, and respond in real time. And then there was the human mind, something no empire had ever truly understood. It was illogical, emotional, often self-destructive. But it was also the most creative, most determined force in the galaxy. Humans had imagined their own destruction countless times in their stories, then found ways to survive it. They had trained their own imagination to create threats so powerful that real danger seemed easier to face. The Empire had never fought a species that practiced surviving disasters every day, even in their fiction, even in their sleep. The more they learned, the more they realized that humanity was not an accident. It was a design formed by time, terror, and tenacity. And just when they thought they understood it all, Orion revealed one final secret. Humanity had not only prepared for invasion, they had prepared for what came after. Instead of wiping out the Empire's fleet, they had left them alive to see the truth. They wanted them to carry them. Message back to warn others. Earth didn't need to expand or conquer. Its defense was its message: come for war, and you'll face something far older, far smarter, and far more dangerous than you expect. The prisoners were released, not with violence, but with quiet purpose. Their ships, now changed forever by Earth systems, could fly again. But they would never be the same. And the memories of what they saw, the strange, calm power of humans, the living mind of Earth, the slow-burning fire of a species that refused to die. Those memories would travel faster than any weapon. The Empire, once proud and certain of its place in the galaxy, now faced a choice: forget what they saw and risk return, or remember the secret of humanity and stay far away. Earth had spoken, not with war, but with truth. And the truth was clear: humanity was the galaxy's most patient predator. ASA the Empire's battered fleet limped back into known space. The transmissions sent ahead of them spread like a storm across the stars, racing through communication networks, echoing in command centers, and burning its way into the minds of every leader, every strategist, and every curious observer. The message carried no threats, no declarations of war, no promises of conquest, only silent images of Earth's still skies, the blank expressions of the returned soldiers, and the terrifying truth hidden in their haunted eyes. For the first time in galactic history, the Empire had returned from a mission in defeat, not destroyed, not even injured, but broken from the inside, their confidence shattered and their arrogance replaced with silence. The galaxy, once proud of its endless knowledge and vast power, now faced a question it had never asked before: what is humanity truly capable of? That fear began to spread, not like wildfire, but like a slow, creeping shadow. It slithered through the minds of the Arkel strategists who once predicted every war outcome before a shot was fired. It haunted the sleep of the Exilari generals, who believed all species could be controlled with the right technology. It reached the hidden councils of the elder races, the ones who had ruled long before the Empire even rose, and who had quietly marked Earth as a quarantine zone for reasons they never fully shared. Now, they understood their ancestors' warnings were not myths or mistakes, they were survival instincts. Across different star systems, debates turned into arguments, and fear turned into action. The Galactic Council, once dismissive of Earth as a silent, backward world, now treated its name like a code of danger. The word human was no longer said with curiosity or mockery. It was spoken with caution, like the name of a storm that had passed but might return without warning. Some wanted to strike first, to gather every fleet and crush Earth before it could rise any higher. But others, wiser or perhaps more afraid, whispered the truth they all felt deep inside: if Earth wanted war, it would have started one already. The fact that humanity let the Empire live was not weakness, it was a message. A warning. A show of restraint from a species strong enough to win without killing, and dangerous enough to hold back when they had every reason not to. In the shadow of that decision, old rivalries in the galaxy began to fade. Former enemies started quiet conversations. Treaties once ignored were suddenly enforced, and many began building defensive systems not aimed at each other but aimed toward Earth. Fear made allies out of enemies, and Earth became the silent center of a changing galaxy. In hidden labs and secret meetings, scientists tried to understand how humans evolved so differently, so dangerously. How they endured centuries of internal wars, self-inflicted disasters, and emotional chaos, yet instead of collapsing, they grew more resilient. Some believed Earth was not just a planet, but a living training ground, designed by time itself to forge something beyond normal evolution. Rumors spread that Earth wasn't alone in its silence, that it had allies even older than the Empire, watching from deep space. Strange signals intercepted near black holes, artificial moons vanishing without trace, and unmarked vessels appearing near dead stars. Many now believed these were signs of Earth's silent network, a hidden force that the galaxy never noticed until it was too late. Some even feared Earth had discovered how to unlock parts of the universe no one else could reach, places beyond dimensions, where thoughts could reshape matter, and fear itself could be turned into fuel. Others dismissed these stories as fear-driven myths, but even the doubters locked their doors and redirected their probes away from Earth. And still, the humans said nothing. They made no moves to expand, sent no diplomats, claimed no rewards. They simply remained still, watching, as if the entire invasion had been a test they had expected for centuries. The quiet was more terrifying than any warship. The silence became a presence in every room where powerful beings discussed strategy, a ghost at every meeting table. It reminded them that they were not alone anymore, not in the way they once believed. Something had changed forever. Earth had not asked to be feared, but now it was. Not because of violence or weapons, but because it had shown the galaxy a new kind of power, a power born from pain, chaos, and relentless survival. On remote planets where philosophers and thinkers studied history, some began to speak of a coming shift. They said the galaxy had entered a new age, not of empire or rebellion, but of watching. Watching Earth. Watching humanity. Waiting for their next move. Some believed Earth would rise as a peaceful teacher, guiding the galaxy with the wisdom of its painful past. Others warned that if pushed too far, it could become the galaxy's final storm. And so, across the stars, species began to prepare, not just for defense, but for understanding. They studied human culture, their old books, their strange stories filled with pain and hope. They tried to learn what made humans human, but they always came back to the same conclusion: the secret wasn't in the weapons, or the science, or even the technology. The secret was in the heart. The human heart, illogical, emotional, stubborn, unpredictable, was the one thing the galaxy had no defense against. It was what allowed humans to survive when no one else would, to rise from ashes with laughter and rage in equal parts. It was the heart that made them forgive and then strike with the fury of a world that refused to die. And so, the galaxy stayed awake, no longer sleeping comfortably under the illusion of safety. For the first time in generations, they understood that the center of fear had shifted. It was no longer the Empire, no longer the ancient races, no longer the machines that patrolled dead zones. It was Earth, the blue planet that sat quietly in the spiral arm of the galaxy, pretending to be weak, hiding its fire behind gentle skies. And now, the stars themselves whispered a new warning, one passed from world to world, system to system, not with panic, but with careful, fearful respect. Do not provoke Earth. Do not test humanity. Because the trap was not the planet, it was the people.